Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Ohio State versus Michigan State matchup with a little bit of a statistical comparison here. So if you're new to the channel and new to the work that I do, all terms and definitions will be in the description. So first off, we're going to talk about Ohio State's offense versus Michigan State's defense based on the statistics. First off, when you look at the data here, the offense, and again, all these scores are based on the offense and the defense, based on every single offense and defense since the 2000 college football season. So Ohio State's offense in terms of the points per game is very high, 90 percentile, but Michigan State's defense has also been very good at preventing points on defense. But I think the biggest takeaways here is that Ohio State, even though there is that point issue there, when you look at the rest of these statistics, Ohio State pretty much beats them in every single area. I mean, Ohio State is just better when it comes to completion percentage, better in terms of fumbles, basically not allowing as many fumbles compared to Michigan State, which has not had as good of a season yet when it comes to creating fumbles. You look at the interception area, Ohio State just doesn't turn the football over a lot in terms of their passing, and of course, total turnovers. Points per yard, everything really comes down to this. Fundamentally, Michigan State has a strong defense in terms of not allowing points in those other sort of areas. Points per play, yards per play, those types of things. But Ohio State is better when it comes to completion percentage, is better in terms of things that can control the clock. Because again, Ohio State's offense in many ways is a ball control type of offense. It's just instead of controlling the ball through running the football all the time, they control the ball through their offense. And then, of course, when you look at rushing yards and passing yards, Michigan State has been probably one of the best defenses in college football so far in terms of holding teams to a low amount of rushing yards and holding teams to a low amount of passing yards. But I still think there are some positives here, when you look at the overall matchup of things. Now, let's look at some individual matchups here just to get this out there. When you look at the Ohio State offense, by far the biggest contributor on offense for them is J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is making up more than 25% of their overall offensive output compared to the wide receivers. I mean, the wide receivers that they have there are good. I'm not dissing on any of them, but none of them are major contributors on the. So getting into the defensive contributors, probably one of the biggest contributors for them is Kenny Williams. When you look at his, just the share of defensive line contributors, Kenny Williams is making up a high percentage of the sack percentage, and of course the tackle for loss percentage. Raywan Williams is also doing pretty well in terms of sacks, and of course Antwan Simmons also is doing very well in terms of tackle for loss and also solo tackles as well. So those guys, I think, are going to be really important when it comes to taking down J.K. Dobbins. If Will Leaks and Antwan Simmons, if they can get into the backfield, get J.K. Dobbins down, that's going to be a very interesting sort of matchup there in terms of that. Also, when you get to pass defense, probably a big contributor here in terms of turnovers is Tyreek Thompson. He's by far been the biggest contributor when it comes to just getting interceptions. And I think in terms of pass deflections, it's kind of all over the place. I think Joe Abaki is more of a linebacker. He's been contributing there. Xavier Henderson also has been contributing there to a large extent as well. But the pass defensive perspective here is, I think, Tyreek Thompson. I think he's going to need to get a key turnover here and there to get this thing going, get the ball rolling and stopping things. So I would say those are the biggest keys to Michigan State defense. If Kenny Williams and Antwan Simmons, if they can get into the backfield, get J.K. Dobbins onto the ground, and if this defense can create a turnover, this could be a major key in this particular game in terms of that. Now on to the next part of things. We're going to look at the Michigan State offense versus the Ohio State defense. And I'm not going to lie to you, the Michigan State defense just looks better than the Michigan State offense, except for when it comes to creating turnovers, getting interceptions, those types of things. It just hasn't been as good. It has not been as good for Ohio State in that particular aspect of things. But in terms of preventing points, Ohio State's defense has been very good. And Michigan State's offense has just been kind of okay in many ways in terms of that. But if you look at the points per play, if you look at yards per play. Ohio State's defense has been doing great when it comes to those particular metrics. They just haven't really been able to create a lot of turnovers on defense in terms of the overall aggregate of all the turnovers they've been able to create. They haven't been doing a very incredible job in terms of that. Still doing really well, but not exactly where they need to be. And I think the biggest thing to really to focus in on in this particular game is the passing yardage, because when you look at the amount of passing yards that Ohio State has given up, it's not been much in college football. It's not the best pass defense in college football, but it definitely is up there. And then, of course, when you look at Michigan State's offense, Michigan State's offense is mainly passing focus. And in fact, when you look at the top contributors on offense, Darrell Stewart Jr., who is a wide receiver, is their biggest contributor on offense. So if you can take Darrell Stewart Jr. away, that's going to put a lot of pressure on Elijah Collins to carry the load, and he's not been a major contributor on this offense. He's been one of their major contributors, but he's not been the major contributor. So that's going to be a big thing to look at in this game. And again, coming into matchups here, when you look at the biggest defensive line contributors, Chase Young is pretty much up there right now. He's leading them. He's leading the team in sacks. He's leading the team in TFLs, tackle for loss, and he's also doing pretty well in terms of solo tackles. And I think this is going to be one of the biggest sort of things to watch in this particular game is if Chase Young can get into the backfield and create havoc, then that's really going to hurt the pass defense. Not really the pass defense, but it's really going to hurt the pass offense of Michigan State. And, of course, when you get to the pass defense aspect of things, again, this is the matchup right here. This is the biggest thing that you need to be paying attention to if you're a draft follower, whatever it is that you like to do. This is the matchup to see. Jeffrey Okude versus Darrell Stewart Jr. Darrell Stewart Jr. again is the major contributor on offense for Michigan State. If Jeffrey Okude gets matched up with Darrell Stewart Jr., this is the matchup because Jeffrey Okude is leading the team in terms of interceptions. He's making up over 40+% of all the interceptions that Ohio State has gotten this year. And then, of course, you look at the pass deflection area, very good in terms of that. Damon Arnett is also another guy to look at because he's also been right next to Okude. Hasn't had as many interceptions, but definitely has been pretty good in terms of deflecting the ball and causing pass deflections. But this is the key matchup of this game. If Ohio State's pass defense, if Jeffrey Okude, Damon Arnett, Josh Proctor, Jordan Fuller, Tuff Borland, if those guys can make a major contribution on the pass defense side of things and get an interception here and get and get a play here and there on pass defense and shut down Michigan State's offense, it's game over. It's blowout time for Ohio State if that happens. So those are the major keys to watching this particular game. When you look at the overall comparison of things, again, this is taking into account the offense and defense and their strengths combined and comparing it to every single team since 2000. Ohio State pretty much has the favorability here. They're favored across the board in terms of points. They're favored in terms of completion percentage. They're not really favored in terms of turnovers, but when you look at points per play, yards per play, and you look at the SRS, which is just the single ranking system sort of area, and of course strength of schedule. Ohio State has played a tougher strength of schedule than Michigan State up to this point. So if I was going to pick a winner for this game, if I was going to pick somebody who's going to win this game, it's definitely Ohio State. And again, the biggest matchups to look at, again, as I told you, is Jeffrey Okude and Chase Young are probably the biggest players you need to watch in this particular game on defense for Ohio State. Darrell Stewart Jr. is another guy to watch. And I'll say this, if Elijah Collins has a big game, that could be something to say about Michigan State. So if Elijah Collins can have a huge game, this could really go to Michigan State's favor. But if he doesn't, if you're going to rely completely on Darrell Stewart Jr., you're not going to have that type of output. You're not going to have that X factor, if you will, to win this particular game. So, again, keep in mind, keep a lookout on those guys. J.K. Dobbins, look at him. Look at the offense there, because Michigan State's defense is not to be played with. They're tough. They definitely can do different things on with their team. But overall, this is what I would say is just keep track of those players and let's get to some excitement. So this is one of the biggest games this weekend. I'm always hyped when it comes to Michigan State and Ohio State. They're a big rivalry for them. Not the biggest, of course, but definitely a big rivalry. And I'm very excited to see what happens with this particular game. But I have to say Ohio State takes it just statistically speaking. But Michigan State definitely needs to rely on Elijah Collins, and they definitely need to rely on the other aspects of their team. With all that said, thank you very much for watching this video. My name is James Coburn. You can follow my other work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Jimmetrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well with anybody that you know. Hit that notification bell in case you want to be reminded when another video of mine drops. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.